You got this. Oh, here we go again.
Good morning, good evening, or good night, folks. I'm your host, Simon Redhand, and this is Gaming Redhanded, where I play games I find interesting. And right now, what I find interesting is the current season of Path of Exile 3.25 Settlers of Calgur. I am working through the build I put up a couple weeks ago, just before the league launch. My concept for a bleed slam gladiator, using the tree that they using the revamped bleed gladiator tree they put up this patch. Now, the build is working out. It took some time to get up and running, but I'm liking the way it's playing right now. It's got some work. I'm having some trouble seeing through the fog of how I'm gonna scale this beyond where I'm at right now. I'm not a super fast leveler. I just hit maps about a day or so ago, but I've been busy with work and other things here, so I play as much as I can. I'm at yellow maps now. I've done a couple tier T11 maps. Right now, my character is level, check real quick, level 86. Got my stats here, all that stuff. I got some footage playing in the background there of, just before the video started, I guess, of me going through some maps, things like that. This build here took a lot of trial and error. This is actually the first build I actually worked through just by feel almost, right? I started off leveling with the traditional sense of Sunder and the like. But as soon as I hit level 28, I put on Earthquake, went right to that. Because Earthquake was a skill I really wanted to get used to using. It took a while to get off the ground here. I switched around. I went with, I messed with Restoration for a bit. I messed with Pulverize for a bit. And here I kind of settled on these links here, right? So I'm going with Earthquake, got Fist of War, melee physical damage support, brutality, overexertion, and then volatility for now. I might switch some of these out. I'm not sure yet, but this is feeling comfortable right now. The build really started to come online for me, for the most part, feeling good with Earthquake. When I got this axe here, this gets by my brother. He got it from it's one of the newer weapons from the league mechanic. This thing here triggers a level 20 Tahoe's Chosen when you attack, and it's a former chieftain skill, ascendancy skill, and what it does is it basically just replicates your last slam attack. This doesn't scale with your weapon, from what I can tell. It doesn't take your links into account. I don't even know if it takes the links of your skill that it's replicating into account. But what's cool about it is that I'm using Earthquake. It does its own instance of Earthquake, because Earthquake can only have one aftershock. So it's adding quite a bit of clear when I use it, and it does feel nice. I think this kind of caps and plateaus out. I mean, the weapon itself is kind of like a 650 DPS weapon. It's not high enough. It doesn't have any, bleed damage over time multipliers on there. Damage over time multipliers on there. It has quite a bit of increased physical strength, but no flat physical strength. So this has to be obviously replaced with a craft weapon, right? But so far, this build is sticking with the rules that I was looking for, which is I wanted a big FU mace. I wanted to do bleeds, damage over time. I wanted to slam things. I wanted to jump around and look like a big hulking berserker. Well, I wouldn't say berserker, but a big hulking juggernaut carving a path to the map. And that's kind of the feel I got going on with this build. There's a couple of our unorthodox things I didn't have to do, but I wanted to see if I could make work. and the primary thing was banners. Now, fair warning on this build here, this build is heavily interactive. This is not the you got one button and you're running and you're smooth and stuff like that. This build here has, let's start the count, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 active buttons that you have to press on a rotation. This build has a bona fide rotation. Kind of feels like I'm playing an MMORPG at this point when I play this character. And this is actually the first character I've ever played on Path of Exile that has an actual rotation. And what I mean by that is, like, I've been using Dread Banner and Defiance banners, and I've been stacking them with my auto exertion, right? So how it works is, let me just, this map is still open here. I just cleared this map. I'm gonna go back in there and show you some things here, some of the mechanics here. Every time my auto exertion goes off, I get 30 valor, right? And as you can see, it goes up pretty fast. It goes up, my cooldown reduction, my warcry speed, it goes up every 3 seconds. I manually cast 3 more war banners on top of that. So that means I can hit max valor in about 3 to 5 seconds. I can hit max 105 valor. Now, when I hit 105 valor, I drop my first banner, which is usually Defiance banner. That gives me movement speed and caps my suppression, right? And as you see there, if I get hit by any spells, it reduces the damage taken by that spell type by 11. And this is a fairly noticeable survivability tool. I was originally using Dread Banner for the block, but putting on Defiance Banner was actually much more noticeable in terms of survivability than Dread Banner was by itself. However, as you can see, I'm able to continue gaining valor. So what I usually do is after I drop the Defiance Banner, I drop the Dread Banner. And Dread Banner, it gives you the block, and it gives you, every time you block, it gives you some life back. Now, I had to make a sacrifice here. I'll go through my tree later, explain what I had to do to change it. But using the banners, I was like on the verge of canceling this build altogether, the banners, because it didn't feel like it was worth it. They weren't coming together, they weren't working out up until I put on the Perfidy. And the major thing about Perfidy that allowed this build to kind of feel decent is the fact that even though you place your banner, it does not prevent you from gaining valor. And this is a big deal because my banners right now, they last 14 seconds, almost 15 seconds. I had them up at 20 seconds, but I didn't need it. I peeled back some of the points, but they're at 14 seconds. And as you can see here, I get one banner stack up to 105, and as this is going up, I usually spam my skills while I'm fighting. I'll be using my skills normally, whatever, and then as I hit 105 again, I'll drop my Defiance banner. And now I got both banners running, and they do stack. So now I got my block, and I got my my suppression. Now, what I ended up having to sacrifice was I pulled back some points. I'll go through the tree afterwards, but I'll just go a quick glance. I had this wheel as well. I ended up pulling the points back from this, so because of that, while I am still suppression capped, when I drop a full stacked suppression Defiance banner, I am not block capped anymore. My block is around, well, I'll just show you. My block when I drop the banner is about, whoops, that wasn't a full stack of the Defiance banner. I mean, Dread banner. Hold on, let me stack it. So my block, as you can see here, is 57%. In order to get that to the 75% cap, I would have to put back points into this wheel here, and that will cap out my block. But I'm not going to do that. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm okay with block being like that. I'm okay with 57% block on a two-hander with no ability to block, and I'm okay with 100% chance to suppress. Okay, so that's what I've been doing. We'll go through the tree in a minute here and break down why this works out. But as you can see through the maps here, so far I feel smooth. I've had no trouble doing it. When I run through the map here, I for the most part use Defiance banner for the movement speed, and I'm always spamming my shouts as I move instinctively. And as I move out, I have the passive that allows it to remain for 3 seconds. I pretty much always have some movement speed going on along with my normal movement speed. Like it feels fine running like this, right? To me, I always have some banner going. As you can see, just running 2 seconds, I'm at 60 again. I just keep dropping it over and over again. It's not the full speed, but I just keep dropping it, right? And if a pack shows up, whatever, the banner's already down, I'll drop another one, even at half stack, and then I'll just keep fighting. Usually, if you watch the gameplay I put up here, most trash mobs, white, even blue, they're dying just from leap slam. That's the amount of that's the bleed damage I'm doing with leap slam. I usually just land on the pack and they die. If it's yellow, I'll spam my exertions and then a couple slams go down for my earthquake, and then it'll die. And then for the boss or anything that's set up, as you see, I'm running Ritual and Expedition. When I have to set up either one of those mechanics, I'll land in there, spam a couple of waves, and then when I hit 105, drop my banner, spam a couple of waves, and then start it. And then by the time the mob starts showing up, I have another banner dropped again. I don't care if the dread banner is full or not, but for this, it'll be full, right? And then if I do a real boss, pinnacle boss, whatever like that, when I start doing that, I will be stacking both of them to full because you'll have time. They always talk and run their mouth and shit like that. I was running lab for a while. I did about 15 or so Uber lab runs. Every time I fought a Zara, I was able to drop both stacks before he was able to come out of the pit. Like I got very used to doing the rotation. Now I don't have a set like 1, 2, 3, the normal stuff that you see in these slam videos where it kind of tells you the exerts and how to work them. I'm running Battle Mage Cry, Seismic Cry, Enduring Cry. Enduring Cry doesn't exert. I'm just running Enduring Cry because it gives me my consistent Enduring charges, right? I might take it off because I don't like Enduring Cry, but for now it's staying there. A Battle Mage Cry is where I'm getting my vulnerability from. Every time I proc it, I come down. My first attack is giving me both vulnerability and it's giving me Molten Shell. So you see here, Molten Shell and it's got vulnerability. Every time I start a fight, I get them running. I'm always rotating them, so I always have Molten Shell up, and I usually have vulnerability up. So that's usually it's not really rotation, but basically I have my auto exert running, my Rallying Cry, Intimidating Cry, Infernal Cry. Those are the 3 exerts there. And then Seismic Cry and Battle Mage Cry are the only ones I'm actually running myself. Enduring Cry is just the newest one I added in there because it's not bothering me to put it on. It's linked to urgent orders and it feels fine for now, and it is helping me to my Valor stacks faster. So I usually just piano 3 keys like that and then I jump in and slam. And then all my exerts are up. I'll usually stand still and just throw down slams until they go down and then run them off again. That's it. That's all the rotation is, right? Now, on its face, it seems like a lot of buttons, but it's rather smooth. Like, if you watch me mapping, I don't feel bothered by this. I'm not the fastest character right now, but that's just because I don't have, like, the movements in my boots are not there. I mean, if I get 35%, I'd probably feel a bit better. My stuff's not qualityed up yet, right? So, as I get my quality up there, maybe I'll get this higher. Maybe I'll link when I 6-link this and I switch my gems around, maybe I'll get this linked to momentum support and get my speed even faster. But right now, I like the way it is. I like having it linked to fortify and overexertion support. I like being able to land in the pack and everything just be dead. I like that. I don't even have the passive that turns off travel skills can be exerted because I like the fact that my leaf slam is killing things as I land in it and I keep moving. Right. So far, I like how the build feels. My only concern is I don't know how it's gonna go up to that next level. Okay, we're gonna jump into the POB and I'm gonna break down some of the choices I made there and why I made them and go from there. But before I do that, we'll go through the skills. These items here are nothing. These are some 5-10 chaos items I put together just so I can actually get up there and map. There's nothing here. This ring I got lucky on because it's one of those rings that people put up there for like a 5 chaos, and then it already had endurance charges on there, so I threw the channeling on there. And then this kind of helped my mana issues, so I didn't have to go blood magic, right? And all my rings kind of have this. The ultimate goal is to have both my rings and this kind of look like the same, but one of my rings is probably gonna have first on hit vulnerability. I'm not sure just yet. I'm not sure if I'm gonna anoint an additional curse, and that way I can cycle curse on hit vulnerability and also get, you know, either punishment or something else running, a second curse running like Enfeeble or something like that, just to get some more defensive layers. I haven't decided yet, but if I don't, then all my rings are going to basically look like this, which is minimum endurance charge, minus mana cost, and then that way I can have 3 endurance charges running at all times, right? Okay, so let's jump in there and check out the POB.
Oh, what's a man got to do to get a pint round here, eh?
All right, so here is my current path of building. Let's go and mess with the configurations. I don't like messing with this too much. I don't like, we're not going to be going here and dreaming of what our damage could be. I have endurance charges on me because I do get max endurance charges. Let's go through all this. I killed all corpses. Leave all this pretty much the same here. I have frenzy charges, but I might be getting rid of them soon enough, so I'm not even gonna put those in the calculations. I am fortified most of the time, but we'll leave it off. What else is here? The enemy moving. It's aggravated. Intimidated. Yes. They're not gonna be intimidated because I don't have my intimidating shout out of exertion. The enemy's most likely bleeding, but we're gonna leave all of this the way it should be. We're gonna leave all this off. All right. The only thing I'm really looking at here is the tree itself, and the rest of this is just kind of being done on feel, right? Now, as you can see from those videos there, I pretty much kill most things with the initial impact, even though this is not the intended method. I kill most trash with leap slam landing and the initial impact of earthquake, and then the aftershock does its own bit of damage there when it does go off, right? Okay. This tree here originally started off. I came down. I started off with Sunder, did the usual thing. I kind of focused on getting on the bleed node, so I made sure I got Wicked Blade at the beginning of the game early on, and Bloodletting. This is like my first like 20 levels was rushing these nodes here. I also got this pretty early on just to help with the mana issues I was feeling while I was leveling up, and it was pretty smooth sailing. I leveled with Sunder as most people suggest while they're going through the game here, and I ended up switching out to Earthquake around level 30. That's because that's just happened to be a time I went back to town to actually go pick up the gem, right? I had no trouble leveling with Earthquake. It wasn't the fastest, of course. Sunder was faster, but it felt fine. It wasn't a big deal to me. I ended up messing around a lot with Earthquake Replication, but I just couldn't see the pathway to make that thing viable, so I ended up having to say let it go. The next skill I do want to try out before I lock in on what skill I'm going to be playing with in terms of like continuing to go with is going to be Ground Slam. I haven't tried messing with it yet, but I do plan on going with Ground Slam and see how it feels. I tried out Earth Shatter Prominence. That felt fine. I tried normal Earth Shatter. That also felt fine. I also tried out what else? I tried Sunder a bit. The Transfigured Sunder. These all felt kind of fine, but I still just really preferred the Earthquake because it does actually scale amplification, right? Now, as I said earlier, I've been working with banners and warcrys because I wanted to make sure all of those are my skills. I don't know. I wanted to see the tech. I kind of wanted to see the vision GGG had when they revamped these banners to their current state. Because on paper, I looked at Defiance Banner and Dread Banner, and I really wasn't liking them. They felt like incomplete entities. They still kind of do, right? The fact that this only does suppression and movement speed, which are two stats I don't understand why they're put together. Especially when the banner itself, if you leave the radius, picks itself up automatically. The movement speed puts you in a lot of situations where you end up taking the banner with you. Unless you're using it the way I started using, which is basically I don't care if it's capped when I'm moving through the map. Just as I leave, as soon as I have 3 seconds is about to drop, I drop the banner again. I keep going, and then that speed kind of works for me. And after a while, you get used to the speed. So even when you put it down fighting, you're not going to end up running out of bounds and picking the banner up, right? And then with Dread Banner, it's kind of the same issue, right? Where this is the block and the pitiful life recovery when you do block. It's like there's nothing much here going on with this banner. I kind of wish Red Banner and Defiance Banner were both just removed from the game and became one banner that just had block and spell suppression, and that way you didn't have to cycle through both of them to make them viable. But here we are, right? What else am I gonna go through here? This is a nice combination. If you don't know about it, I didn't put Battle Mage Cry into the auto exert link, even though I see a lot of guides doing that. A lot of people talking about doing that, but I didn't do that because Battle Mage Cry on your next attack will automatically cast. It's basically it's a trigger skill. So I've been using Battle Mage Cry to automatically cast my vulnerability full leveled and my Molten Shell. I don't understand why a lot of these builds are not doing it the same way. I don't understand why they would not self-cast. They have cast when damage taken set up still, and it's just I don't get it. If you're spamming Warcries, why not just use vulnerability like this and then not waste a slot on cast when damage taken? Anyway, I basically have vulnerability up, Molten Shell up almost every pack, right? So I see a lot of guys doing it. Maybe they don't understand that that's how it works, but yeah. So this is a pretty good survivability link. I will eventually change this to a Valve Molten Shell because I have one more keybound slot left, and I will add quality to it, and all the rest of that stuff here. I had it linked to more duration for a while until I started messing with double banners, right? What else is here? Self-cast second Seismic Cry. It's linked to Second Wind. I'll probably leave it like that. I'm not sure what my second sick link is going to be, because right now I am using the two-hand mace. That means I have opportunity for 2 6 links. My first 6 links is going to be Earthquake for sure. My second one, I haven't decided yet, right? I don't think I'm going to change my auto exert to it. I mean, there is an opportunity to 6 link my auto exert and then put it with an Enlighten level 4 and then reduce how much it's reserving, and then maybe squeeze in another aura. I have an opportunity to do that. I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet, right? Because right now the goal is to put my auto exert loop into my Echoes of Creation at some point, right? And so that's going to be a goal, right? So I don't know what my second 6 link will be. Maybe I'll go further along with Leaf Slam. Maybe I'll like Leaf Slam the General's Cry just to get one more Warcry in there, right? Not for the exertion, but for so this here. Admonisher, which increases the damage each time you Warcried recently, right? Which is it's pretty decent. I don't mind having it on. If I go through the count here and say you've used Warcried recently, I put it on 6, so that's usually how much I'm running, and it's a pretty decent buff. Let me keep that going. Right. But if I end up having to sacrifice a loop, this is like the first thing I'm probably taking off. But I do like the Warcry speed. It does make my character feel smoother when I'm walking through it, right? So the main clusters I went through here. Just quickly, we could go through it. I ended up taking the banners here, of course. I got this loop here gets your banners to 105, sorry. This one here allows it to linger. I debated dropping this, but I do like the duration that it's giving, and I do like the pathing here. This is allowing me to get my Valor stacked up in 2 rotations, right? So around 6 seconds or so. I originally had this cluster here, which was inexorable, really struggled with that one. Anyway, I originally had inexorable, and it just turned out mathematically this kind of worked out to be the same. So this gives you a chance to get endurance charges when you're hit. This would probably be better for bossing and stuff like that, but since I'm using endurance during Cry, I'm gonna get my charges. So I ended up switching these points to here. That way I get the minimum endurance charges, endurance charge on kill, and also get the scaling for endurance charge of the armor, the area of effect, the stun durations, etc., etc. And then I have intentions of getting the charge duration at some point, right? So that's gonna be next. Is then we get charge duration, and I'm gonna play around with that. I'm not sure if I need it or not just yet, but that's what I plan on going towards next, right? After that, I'm going to be finishing. Well, I'm still debating if I'm going to either get this cluster here to get more max res, because right now I'm at 78. I'm at 80% fire. This would bring me effectively to 83, which is pretty good. And then if I did that, I would take the mastery here, which would give me another 1% to all res for having all armor on, right? So this is pretty decent survivability here, right? So I'm not sure just yet. I'm not sure just yet with that, or I might go a cluster jewel, right, with my last couple points I have left, right? So and then from 89 here, get a 8-point cluster, and get, you know, master. I think I already made it. I think I crafted it. Let me see what's here. Oh, I didn't save it when I crafted it. Something I do, and I don't bother saving it. But basically, oh, let me go find one. But basically, a physical cluster, which would have, you know, the usual. There's not too many options that work here. The triple cluster, the only one that will really work, which is what, battle hardened, master the fundamental, and maybe force multiplier. It's kind of the only real things the only real options you have, right? So that'd be the goal there, right? If I end up doing that. So I'm not sure just yet. That I'll actually POB a bit more when I hit red maps. We'll go from there. What else should what should I go over here? Currently, right now, I'm pathing up this way. I ended up getting Bonebreaker, but I might drop it. I'm working my way through here to get Vanquisher, but that's because it has the 2 physical damage over time multipliers on this side here are pretty good. A bit on the fence on whether or not I should try to make myself, like, if I don't get the cluster jewel, try to make my way over to veteran soldier, but I think I might just anoint this and skip pathing all the way over there. I think that's it, right? Like, right now, the biggest thing I'm seeing is like my damage is kind of capped out here. This build here is finally got flowing, but the reality is this build would probably flow a lot better with sword and board, especially playing Gladiator. Like, right, look at my masteries here, my ascendancies. I have Jagged Technique, which is arguably the only thing on this tree that's worthwhile. I have War of Attrition, which is meh, it's okay. It's kind of equates to being a cutting straight if the fight lasts long enough. And then I have this here, which I would argue is a dead stat. This is a dead ascendancy point here. This is, yeah, it's giving me 20% more area effect, but I don't care about this. And even if I switch to axes, it's meh, it's whatever. It would be better on an axe, but it's still in whatever territory, right? Here, I was considering doing retaliation skills for a bit here, but the reality is, if I switched to sword and board and I went over here, this build would probably be unkillable, right? I had defenses lucky, I had block on, and I was doing banners like this. This build for sure would be unkillable. That's just how I feel about it, right? It would be very, very defensive, very tanky, and then I could even go the route of trying to figure out how to make it work here, how to build my damage out even further, and I would just switch to the traditional, like, lacerate of hemorrhage type style build, getting rid of all these 2-handed nodes, switching over to lacerate, and switching over to a sword and shield, and easy. It can easily work out, right? But yeah, so far I'm liking this. I'm gonna try to figure this out some more. This is my first update here. I just made it to the yellow maps, like I said earlier here, and the goal for me is going to be to get the red maps, see if I can kill the Guardian, see if I can get all my stones. And as I go through that journey of figuring out how to get my stones, I'm going to kind of work through all the problems I discovered, how I solved them, right? I'm really liking this Tahoe's felling, but unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is running its course. This is going to be, I'm going to have to drop this weapon soon. It's 614 DPS. It's definitely going to have to be replaced. I do love how this Tahoe's Chosen works, but the mechanic doesn't scale. It doesn't scale off anything, right? So I don't know what to do with it, right? So unfortunately, as cool as this skill is, the fact that it doesn't take advantage of any of my other weapons that are linked to it, there's nothing I can really do with it, right? So anyway, thank you guys for dropping by. I appreciate you for giving me your time. I appreciate you for following along with this unorthodox build here. This is actually a lot of fun, this build so far. It was frustrating working it out, but now that I got it rolling with the perfidy and all that stuff, it's pretty cool. But I will admit, it's a lot of buttons to press. I'm looking forward to seeing how I figure out how to get this build over to T17 maps, if it's even possible. It might just die after Minotaur, right? Well, but I'll at least have that duel at Minotaur to see who has the harder hammer hits, right? All right, guys. Have yourselves a good morning. And this is the only video you watch me today, a good afternoon or good night.